Hello, this is Cotton Stoops, and welcome back to another Loomian Legacy video, and this is an analysis video on the newest Loomian of this update, Phagenut, the evolution of Elephage. But yeah, this video is basically everything you need to know about Phagenut. Is it going to be good? Is it a bust? Or is it actually going to be really strong? So let's get along with that. So I'm going to keep this video short and concise. Basically, the main thing you should be knowing about Phagenut is that its HP, melee defense are all really high for something this fast. And 95 speed, while not being on par on Elephage's speed tier, it is obviously in a pretty good speed tier. It does outspeed most of the wall breakers, outspeed pretty much all the walls in the game as of right now. And it does have to compete in competition with stuff like Nemore, Garbantis, and as well as Vesperatu, Garlash, Hunder, Zulong. Overall, and as well as Tatab, it does have to compete in terms of that spot as well, but its speed tier is pretty good enough with pretty low investment to outspeed a lot of the wall breakers and the walls. 55 range defense is basically you do not want to switch in on range attackers unless you're hyper invested into HP and you're running like a clever personality, something like that, but overall I do not suggest switching on range attackers. And obviously the best part of its kit is it's 140 HP. Compared with this, you actually will be hitting really hard with just the personality of Smart. And obviously you can run Nimble too and will still be hitting pretty hard. And the best thing about Phagenut is it can have the ability to run Zip Zap as well as Flash and Flee, which will obviously make a very scary duo of pivot moves, letting Phagenut to be having to set up Magnify, pivot out with Zip Zap or Flash and Flee, dealing massive amount of damage on the opponent, will obviously keep your momentum on your team up, which will obviously give you the upper hand of the battle. Battling Phagenut on hyper offense teams, I can tell is probably going to be a uphill battle for teams that aren't running Phagenut or facing a Phagenut. Basically, if Phagenut gets on the battle, gets off a Magnify, it actually doesn't need a Magnify. If it gets in a battle and then you don't have something to be immune to Flash and Flee or Zip Zap, Phagenut is going to be destroying your team, or rather abusing your team with its pivot moves and its very high range attack. And it does get a new evolution move. It's basically the 80 base power ranged move version of Pep Jab. It's also electric as well, and also it does get the ability, which I'm pretty sure it's called Overcharge, basically 30% damage increase in electric type moves on the field. It can work in duos as well. It can work in doubles as well. It's Joltooth's essay as well, so that's something to consider. And obviously, it's going to be hitting a lot harder on top of the electric typing, being very special to Elephage, or rather Phagenut, dealing a lot more damage with Zip Zap and the new move it gets. So yeah, overall, best thing about Phagenut, high defenses, high HP, kind of mid-range defense, but its HP kind of balances out. And the 95 speed, while being in a very competitive speed tier, it does allow Phagenut to have low investment to outspeed wall breakers as well as walls. Obviously, that's pretty great. Its 55 melee attack, don't use it. Its range attack stat is probably the best thing out of its kit, because even at low investment, Phagenut is still going to be hitting really hard with Zip Zap, Flash and Flee, and as well as some other stuff too. So overall, my opinions on Phagenut. I think Phagenut is going to be a decent to really strong Loomian in the metagame. Obviously, its range attack is really strong, which will allow Phagenut to run multiple kinds of sets. It can run defensive sets or defensive fast pivot sets to keep up the offensive pressure in hyper offense style teams. Obviously, it's really good on those type of teams as well, but I think it's probably going to fit best in stall just because it has the pivot moves, it has the range attack, it has the speed, and of course Malware being a pretty good ability with the robust, which will obviously be increasing your melee defense up a lot better, and you will have a great time with melee attackers. Overall, I think Phagenut will be a pretty versatile Loomian. It does have Rejuvenate, so it can run pivots to sets that rely on its defenses and speed. So yeah, overall, Phagenut is one of the more versatile Loomians that has came out in the recent updates. it is pretty good overall. So yeah, that's my opinion. Like the video, join the Discord, subscribe if you want to see more videos from me, and I'm probably going to be doing an in-depth video on how to use encounter Elephage, or Phagenut actually. So let's get along with that.